All right, here we are with another episode of the High Ground, powered by Premier Companies. Sal, how are you doing this morning?
Wonderful day.
Well, it is a wonderful day. It's beautiful. It's harvest, and we thought, what better time to get our grain guy on
Let's
than
stop him.
harvest? Yeah,
Oh
sure.
my
So, that'll keep you from dodging trucks for the next 15 minutes, Aaron. So, we're bringing you on.
I
We're going to talk
appreciate
a little
the
about. Yeah,
No,
I'm
you
sure.
don't.
No, you don't. Liar, liar. So, obviously, we're going to start you out with the question of the day before we jump into your update. So, your question of the day today, Aaron, is what would you do with the money if you won a big lottery? And we've not specified big, but it always makes me go back and think about Larry the Cable Guy's skit where he says, I always like people who don't jump in the lottery till it's like 400 million.
Yeah.
Like 350 million wouldn't have helped them.
Yeah.
So,
I
don't
want to
know
make it
what
worth
big
it.
is.
I want it to be worth it if I win it. Right.
Right. So I don't know what big is, Aaron. I'll let you decide.
My first thing would be I'd be trying to find at least 1,000 acres that were contiguous somewhere. 1,000-acre ranch somewhere right out of the get-go. If it's a big enough lottery, I'll buy it, and probably no one's going to see me except for when I post something, I will become a social media sensation with all the animals that I've gone after.
All the poor little critters that you're going to chase down.
Yep. Yeah. I got to keep enough aside to have a farm manager because I don't want to do that. I just want to go out and have fun. So
that's what be at a tree stand if somebody needs you, or a blind.
Yeah, duck blind or a tree stand. Would it be around here, or are you one of those that's going to go out west where they have horses and things like that? Both, right?
I don't know. Both.
It's a big enough lottery. Yeah, there you go.
If it's a big enough lottery, I'm going to be probably around here, and then Montana. Never been. Heard it's gorgeous. And then I'd have to go on a New Zealand trip just to kick it off.
Go see some spots.
Can I be your farm manager?
Yeah. I just want to be your assistant.
Right. It's kind of like a boat. You don't need to own a ranch if you got somebody, if you know somebody that does. I can bush hog. I can do that. Mow game trails, whatever.
Yeah.
Yep, I'd love to. So, Sal, what would you do with a great big bunch of You already talked to us about all your equipment in another episode, so can't imagine you need another thing.
You know what? I think that if I come into a whole bunch, I would I'd probably go buy a dealership, and just so I could drive everything, just so I can go. I go past Jacoby's or Wright's or some of the equipment dealers, and I look at the lots, and I'm like, all that stuff looks just awesome. And I wouldn't work there. I wouldn't change a thing. I would just go drive stuff.
Demo it.
I would.
It turns out it does work.
And I'd come out to Aaron's ground, and I would just say, hey, can I go play for a while? And
cool.
He'd be fine.
You'd be like, what are these holes?
Absolutely.
Where do those deer keep going? They keep walking off into this hole. Where did that come from?
Pits.
Terrible. Well, I think I'd probably be in the same vein as Aaron, only I probably wouldn't have any hunting ground, though. But I think I'd probably buy a house that has water access to the Guadalupe River down by New Braunfels, Texas. And that's probably where I would stay. And then I would be within driving distance of all the good bass lakes in Texas. I'd be within walking distance of Greenhall. And I can't imagine I could be much happier, but
pretty nice.
It's my plan. I mean, it's not like I've given it any thought.
I'd keep working, though. You think I have a good attitude now?
Who does? Did you hear that, Aaron?
I'm a fairly positive person, but you give me money, and I would be hard to be around. I don't know if I could stand myself.
Oh, my. Hey, you want us to weigh in on what everybody else would think?
Yeah, comments below.
Yeah, there you go. There's a whole comment section. We won't even shut it off. So, all right, cool. Well, that's a good one. Sal, you've done the question of the day today. That was a good one. I liked it.
Yeah, we try to keep them fun.
Yeah. So, all right, Aaron, that going on. You got bushels coming out. You got storage space still. You have a river. So, tell us what you got going on.
Well, this will sober the talk.
Yeah. Right. So we got the laughing out of the way. Tell us the stuff now.
Yeah. Well, if you measure wisdom by the amount of kids a person has, I mean, I talked to the wisest person in Premier Ag, Jeff Jarrett, our fertilizer guy, and
Wait a
asking him
second.
about
I don't think there's
what
any
he thinks.
correlation.
No,
Nope, correlation.
it's not even. I don't
But-
think. Oh. Anyway,
But I was talking to him about the barge traffic on the river because we buy a lot of barges, fertilize, and he is, in all honesty, he is very, very smart when it comes to this type of stuff. So asked him what he was kind of thinking or what he's been hearing from all of his fertilize contacts, and then I talked to some of my sources down there that I sell beans to see how their capacity and what their traffic looks like on barge freight. And overall, right now, it's basically one-way traffic on the Mississippi and Ohio. There's reports of, coming straight from Jeff, daytime running is for guys going northbound. Nighttime running is for the guys going southbound. Load limits have been put on, or load reductions, I should say. They can't carry a full load. It's just been a little bit of a disaster. Some of the positives, though, is that they started dredging earlier in the year than they did last year. So that's really kind of kept it flowing better than what we were doing at this time last year. This time last year, we'd already seen letters coming out for force majeure, not getting barges and things like that. So they've been dredging more. They extended that window out a couple weeks too. So hopefully that helps. That's kind of what the river looks like. It's rough, but it's going.
For our listeners that aren't familiar with how dependent the Midwest is, or at least the Eastern Corn Belt, certainly on the river to haul things in and to haul things away, the best analogy we could probably make is imagine a state highway, and you said one lane traffic. So we know the guy out there with the stop and then the slow sign that as you go home on 50 when we get done here, right?
Yep.
That guy. So imagine what one-way traffic looks like on a state road, and then think about that as a river with boats and barges, and that there's just not a 100-yard passing lane. I mean, it is miles, and it has just gone to a crawl, I guess, from what Jeff tells us, and all this harvest has to go somewhere. So, and if it can't get away from us, it goes into storage, but that's limited at some point. We fill that up, right, Aaron?
Yes. Yeah. At some point we do fill it up. Everyone's always like, oh, we've overbuilt capacity on storage on, all the elevators, and there's just more storage than what we really need. And that if yields had stayed where they were 20 years ago, yeah. But every single year, yields seem to keep improving, even in, which leads into this year. It was dry. And we're still hearing phenomenal yields. So I think some of that was due to the cooler nighttime temps that we had when it was hot. At least the plants had an opportunity to cool down at night. But capacity is still a big question mark this year when you start messing with the river. So we'll see how it plays out. Right now, we're, at our facilities, we're doing a good job. We've got plenty of room. We've anticipated a decent sized crop coming at us, so we've tried to do our jobs and making sure that we make space available for everybody.
Good. You've talked us through the economics, basically the supply and demand, and what are the markets doing? Because you've kind of walked us through that about how they regulate how much they take, which sounds very basic, and it is. But how are the markets reacting to this?
So beans on a basis or a demand front. So basis kind of forces beans to where they are, to where they should be going. Basis will shut down the flow of traffic coming into your facility, or it'll improve the traffic flow. All basis is doing is saying, how bad do you want these bushels? And the bean basis has been bipolar this year on the river. Is the best way that I can say it. I mean, we saw a 40 to 60 cent drop about 2 weeks ago, and then within 4 or 5 days, we went all the way back to where we started at. And so it's been a real hard thing to figure out on the bean front is where we're at. I think what we could be seeing, and I don't know 100% for sure, but it feels like, given the weather pattern that we've had, I know at my facility, we have seen more beans than we've ever seen before in the month of September. So I think what happened was everybody went after the beans, and there's so much corn still standing out there. I don't think the true glut harvest push for corn has even began yet. I think it's all been beans. So I think that's part of it. Is the river was low. A lot of guys were going after beans. They got all their beans, and now we're starting to see maybe some of those areas pull back, and they start to get more aggressive, trying to get what's left out there. I don't know for sure. With this river situation, it's all over the board right now on beans. But that was more south of us. Up here, on the west side of our territory, a lot of the beans we're on the tail end of it. We're 2 to 3 days away from being done on beans for a lot of guys. But over towards our eastern area, they've still got quite a ways to go. They're just starting to tiptoe into it. So you're really starting to see the geographical nature of the basis movement and harvest pressure. So corn, on the other hand, like I said, I think it's just now starting to get going, really. I mean, we've seen so many beans that the corn is just taking a back seat right now. But we're starting to see it, especially with some of the weather that we've had the last couple of days. Bean cutting weather won't really be going for another 3 or 4 days, probably, just because of the cool temps and the heavy fogs and some little bit of moisture that we finally got. So we'll start to see corn pressure here in a week or so, I think. Overall, like you brought up, Sal, stocks to use, I talk a lot about that stuff because that kind of paints a picture of where this thing could be going. And if you look at corn, the only thing I'm going to say about beans is that we're a little tighter than we were last year on stocks to use. We're still talking tight bean not bean margins, but bean stocks. Nothing's really improved. We had very few acres. We had smaller acres than we had last year planted for this crop. So beans look like they have a very good story as to why you could be optimistic about what bean prices could do once we get out of harvest. Corn, on the other hand, we're talking stocks to use rate that we haven't seen since 1617 and 1819. A 15.4% stocks to use rate. That is very high. And I'm not here to say where prices are going or anything like that, but if you just look at what pictures kind of, history kind of repeats itself. You try to glean what you can from past years to see where this thing could go. And again, I'm not saying this is where the corn market's going to go, but in 1617, we were in that $3.40 to $4 range per bushel. In 1819, we were $3.60 to $3.90. Now, those prices for the 1819 crop, the $3.60 to $3.90, that was what I did was I looked at September of 16, 17, I'd look at September of 2016 to August of 2017. Just a nearby future market every single day to see what that range looked like. For 1819, if you guys remember, the spring of 19 was an extremely wet year. Nobody thought we were going to get the corn acres planted. So in June, we saw a big run up in the market. But that October to May timeframe, or that September to May timeframe, was $3.60 to $3.90. In that June to August type area, you're looking at a $3.80 to $4.60 range. So you saw the weather premium there, or the weather rally or weather scare in those summer months that you typically try to look for when you're looking for new crop prices. The only reason I bring that up is because those are the 2 years in recent history where we've had above a 15% stocks to use rate. And am I sitting here saying we're going to go to $3.60 to $4 corn? No. But with these interest rates, I think that's one thing that I want to drive home today is with these interest rates as high as they have been, or as high as they are versus what we've had the last several years, we need to be looking at those ranges. And history says we don't have much range here in the futures market. So, that range of 40 to 60 cents in 1617, 20 to 30 cent range in the 1819 crop. When you start looking at your operating loans, if you've got let's just say 8% operating interest rate on $250,000, so $250,000, and you've got 75,000 bushels of storage that you can hold after harvest, you need 27 cents of a rally versus right this second to pay just for the interest on that $250,000 loan. Wow. Just the interest. That's not that's not actually paying the loan back. That is just to pay the interest. That's 1 month. 7% each month you're going to get hit for interest. So that's 1 month. You need a 27-cent increase just to pay for the interest. Now, if you bump that up to a $500,000 operating loan, and the assumption is that if you're probably at a $500,000 operating loan, your on-farm storage is probably a little higher, or you've just got more bushels on DP somewhere or something like that. So let's just say 100,000 bushels of storage. That means you need 40 cents per bushel to compensate for just that interest expense. So that is, I don't want to sit here and say, everyone's been asking, where do we think this thing's going, and what should I hold? What should I sell? I like beans way more than I do corn. I think there's opportunity on beans to catch a rally after harvest especially after the turn of the calendar year into the January. Crush margins still look good for a while on beans. So beans look favorable. Corn just does not paint a favorable picture per se. I'm not sitting here saying that we're going to drop down to the $3 corn again, but beans seem to have more legs under them than corn does right now.
With the corn, the stocks to use of, what did you say, 15.4. 15.4. I mean, what has to change, or what could change between now and next spring? I mean, I can't think of any outlier that would take it down as much as it have to be, right?
Yeah. So the last couple of years, we've had a demand market really kind of push this. Last year we had great yields. Again, we've been very fortunate in our area to have good yields, but we've had a demand market. Oil was going well. The dollar started to see a little bit of pressure to help us on exports. In, I think it was 21, we saw phenomenal export numbers. Now we're seeing some of those things get dialed back. The U.S. dollar is getting stronger again. Ethanol really seems to be the one that I think people are still holding some hope out for, is that, maybe some legislation gets passed and it increases the ethanol usage, which will increase the corn usage. But we're also dealing with feedlots that are smaller than they have been in quite a while. So we're seeing the tail of where the packers backed up and cattle prices and hog prices just fell through the bottom because of COVID, and the packers just got inundated with all these carcasses coming to the market. We're seeing consumers start to dial back their spending because economy, smaller herds means smaller feed usage, I think. So to change it, it's going to be a little bit. We're going to have something come out of left field to get that usage rate down, or to get that stocks to use rate down. So any kind of uptick in ethanol usage would be very favorable, would help us a lot. We're also dealing with South America, like Brazil, where they can ship corn directly to China now, that they haven't been able to do. And, they passed that legislation or opened that up for direct exports from Brazil to China this past spring, late winter. So that's something new. Global trade is just jacked up still from the whole Black Sea thing going on right now with Ukraine and Russia. So it feels like the world's trying to figure out this whole corn flow and bean flow. I think that's where we're at. I don't know if that really answers your question, but it's tough on corn. It's just tough to sit here and be overly optimistic about us making a charge back up to $6 corn again. I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm not trying to predict where we're going, but corn just feels tight, or a tight spot to really just pick out where we're going to win and lose on this thing. It just feels like there's pressure.
Well, thank goodness we got good yields this year. I mean, the only thing worse would
Yeah.
be would be average yields and average prices.
What do you
Yeah.
recommend?
And,
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
uh, oh no, just, I mean, on a positive note, to Sal's point, yields have been phenomenal on corn from what we've seen. And at $800 an acre cost on corn, at 200 bushels the acre at 465, we're still well in the black. So this isn't a doom and gloom thing here at all. I mean, these prices still paint a black number for a lot of people. So this isn't bad. It's just I just want people to be aware of the ranges that those years that this kind of looks like. That way they're not just sitting out holding for a price and the interest is just eating them alive. Yeah. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, especially since we've been used to these low interest rates for so long, and now it's within 2 years we find ourselves where we're at, and it's and I know we're all tuned into it, but it's just easy to forget until you put the numbers out there, like 27 cents and 40 plus cents. That's just incredible. So.
So what are you telling people now? Are you getting a lot of calls? I mean, are people really, is this kind of market conducive to you getting a lot more calls and making a lot more recommendations? And sort of what are you telling folks? I mean, I know you're saying hold beans, but.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of phone calls saying, man, I wish I had sold more. And my only response is you and everybody else. I mean, you're not alone. So don't feel like you are the only one out there. Everyone has been thoroughly surprised and happy to see the yields where they have been this year. So you are not alone. Wishing that you had sold more corn or beans. That's one nice thing. One of my messages lately has been, and it probably should be even more highly touted, is that the marketing plans that we kind of work through the spring and summer months for this new crop, like we did this past year, we're averaging a 550 dropped corn bushel for harvest delivery. We're in the 460s now on delivery. So right there is almost 90 cents if we had contracted it through the spring and summer months. So I think that's a big success story. Beans, we had a lot of beans in the 1340 to 1375 range contracted for this fall. Now we're down in the 11s and 12s. So my message has been mainly, thankfully we have the bushels for this crop. Let's look back and see what we did really well, and let's count it as a win. So next year, let's not deter from that plan, because it is working. A lot of guys have been, outside of I didn't sell enough. They've been asking about DP rates, how much is storage, because they're nervous about being able to hold it. They want to know what the capacity is at our facilities to know if we can handle all the bushels, the excess bushels that they're fortunately going to have this year. And we've been trying to make space. That way we can handle it. DP is something that guys definitely have to watch this year. I mean, the river's 85 cents till the end of January. And then they go to 4 cents a month after that. So right out of the gate, you might as well figure you're losing 85, not losing 85 cents, but you're paying 85 cents to wait and see what the market does. And
that's tough.
So, yeah,
that is extremely tough. Because like I just said, 16, 17, 18, 19, you're talking about a 20 to 30 or 40 to 60 cent range. That is tough to ever get your money back on corn. Beans, I think there's an opportunity for that. I'm not a big proponent of DP. But if I was going to do that this year, it would be on beans. It would not be on corn.
I'll ask you an opinion question. Do you think this kind of market, these kind of yields, we've seen this is now second year in a row, we've struggled with river, things that we can't control. You think it's going to change a farmer's mindset on storage? I mean, we've made these swings every few years. It's we don't need storage. We'll just market it all to we can't have enough storage. What are your thoughts? Do you think we'll see a change on that?
I think so. I've heard some guys kind of hint around wanting to add more farm storage. My only push, some of it will work for some guys. My only conversation that I'd have or topic that I'd want to bring up with them is, do you want to assume that risk? Do you want to take that risk on of adding storage? So you're going to spend the money to build that storage. You're going to have more handling expense then on running those bushels in and out, more time consuming. So, if you just added, if you had 50,000 bushels of storage and you added another 25,000 bushel bin, you just increased by 50% essentially. That's another 25,000 bushels that you have to move out at some point of the year. And if you're already, booked up with just your normal everyday operations of trying to get a crop in the ground, planted, taking care of it, that's another 25,000 bushels that you have to move at some point. It's more workload for you. But to go back to the risk, I think, to my point earlier on, we contracted stuff for $1 more than what we're delivering right this second. Every year that is not going to be like that, but we do see better trends out of sticking to a plan that we usually use, to point to my idea of why don't we add more storage and take some more of that risk away from the farmer and have marketing opportunities through us versus trying to just do it all on your own and have it sit on the farm. Facilities like mine and other facilities, we are built to move bushels in and out. That's our whole thing, is trying to help farmers by moving bushels in and out of our facility, provide them a plan and provide them market opportunities versus having them have to handle it multiple times when they're already busy. So,
there's a psychology to having a bin, because it's almost like, well, I have a bin, it needs to have something in it. And even if the market is dictating that, get rid of it. And so you guys aren't, in your kind of facility, you don't get married to that attitude. If the market says go, you'll truck it as fast as you can. I mean, it doesn't even hardly stay there. It may not even make it into the exact system. It may run through an overhead right into another truck and roll. And it's psychologically, a lot of times on the farm, I've got bins, they ought to have something in them. And regardless, I mean, the numbers should work out whether you're storing bushels or moving bushels. The market should dictate that decision. So, it does sort of make sense that your facility would add storage to accept that risk and market that without that sort of thought process. Just make them go if that's what the market wants.
I never thought about it in terms of, until Aaron said this, I've never thought about it in terms of, if you're going to build storage, if you're going to go build 25,000, 50,000 bushels of storage, you better know what you're going to do with it. Because when you said that, Aaron, I was like, okay, that's a 18, 20 days worth of labor, just the truckloads hauling out.
Yep.
And, and where you're going to take it and who's going to haul it. And it just, I never thought about it until you said that, about the extra time and manpower and effort that it's going to take just to manage that storage. Well,
go ahead.
No, I just thinking that we've raised a lot of questions I hadn't thought of before.
Yeah, and I'm not sitting here saying that on-farm storage is the worst thing ever. It's not. I think some is not a bad thing at all. But to Ryan's point of, emotions run high and you are emotionally tied to it. You see it, you think you have to fill it. Elevators are the same way. Sometimes the best thing for us to do is get out of the way and fill our facility up. And yet every year people probably get in trouble because they try to step in the way and fill their facility because they think they have to. And there's times where that's not smart for anybody, especially for us as a co-op. An elevator that's part of the co-op, it does mean no good to do anything that hurts the farmer, because the whole idea of us is trying to provide a service and to provide something that at the end of the year we can turn around and pay them some form of patronage back to them. So if I make bad decisions, that's not beneficial for them. They may get a perk out of my bad decisions in harvest, but on the other side of it, it's not helping them. So it's a lose-lose, really. I think that's what's unique about us.
Get out of the way. Get out of their way.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't have a ton of marketing advice except for just Just get out of there.
Yeah. Yep. And we do provide different functions. Farmers are focused on cash. We're focused on something else. So there is a win-win story here. And this year was a win-win story. I think this was the poster child type thing of this is where what we do works for the farmers and for us at the same time. Co-op wins, the farmers win. This was not we're talking about harvest delivered bushels at a premium compared to fall delivered, spot loads. Farmers feel great about it. We're happy with it. This is this is what we do. So we're not out there to buy $3 bushels. We don't like that. We like it when it's fun for both sides.
Good.
I don't have anything else there. We'll probably let you get back out there and figure out how to get those trucks that are on your lot.
They're probably
full,
backed up,
empty, and get the trucks that are empty on your lot full and get them out of there.
We didn't ask. Is anybody keeping the trucks running while we've
I'm
had to wet
sure
that
Caitlin. I'm sure Caitlin's got it under control. Caitlin is Tocala probably got it under control.
Yeah, they.
Is he at his house? I can't see him. I can't see.
No,
him.
is
he home?
I am no.
He's. I think he's got a room in his house that he's made to look like his office at the Lagodi.
It's the duck blind. If it looks like his office, that's his duck blind.
I keep hearing a dog.
That's why I don't. That's why I don't move real quick. Is because I don't want you to see that green screen behind me.
All right, well, Aaron, thank you for your time, and continue obviously to have a safe harvest. I know it's hectic right now, and we appreciate the information. And obviously, we'll have you back because there'll be a lot of bushels to have to market from here on out. So we'll want more advice.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you. That's another episode of the High Ground, powered by Premier Companies.